All right, almost done. So we just finished the demo of searching properties by taxes to list price. So let's continue on with our presentation now. So, kind of wrapping up finding properties, there's a couple places I really don't recommend you use. So, when you're shopping for properties, I recommend you don't use Zillow. I recommend you don't use Trulia or other websites, Trulia, that kind of aggregate data. I recommend that you primarily use the coloproperty.com, my site, or the jamesor.com website. Those are the three ones that I recommend you use. The reason why I don't recommend Zillow and Trulia is the data is corrupt. I mean, it's just dirty data. I mean, there's properties that aren't really for sale on there, and you get all excited. You see one. There's properties where a seller or someone neighbor goes on there and puts a property up for sale and lists it there. So there's all sorts of weird things that you can do and bad info. So I would just stay away from it. I'd use Colo Property. And if you are going to use those other ones, I realize some people, they have a strong preference for using some of these kind of search sites. If you have a strong preference for doing it, then always check your property in Colo Property before you contact me or your agent about it, because it's always the best to use the most up-to-date information before you get all excited and say, hey, I want to go see this tomorrow, and then you find out it's already under contract. So I would use Colo Property to check. All right, so let's talk very briefly about outside the MLS. So some pros and cons. We talked about the pros and cons of buying inside the MLS. Now we're going to cover pros and cons of looking outside the MLS. So the pros are you can deal directly with the seller. You can do very creative transactions like lease options, lease purchase, subject to, because you're talking directly with the seller and you're making your deal. You're not having to play telephone tag, go through me, then go through another agent, then go to the seller. You can deal directly with the seller when you go outside the MLS in most cases. So you may be able to structure those creative deals. It also has limited exposure, unlike properties listed in the MLS. If a property is listed for sale by owner, it's probably not getting as much exposure as properties in the MLS where everyone's searching. And so you have fewer people looking at it. You could presumably get a better deal, which you should remember if you're ever selling your property yourself without a real estate agent, is that you're limiting your exposure, and you probably could have got a better deal if you had gone through the MLS, because there's just more people looking at it, more people willing to bid on it. Some of the downsides, though, of buying outside the MLS: you often need to spend money on marketing in order to find the deals. For me, it's not unusual for me to spend $2,000 in marketing just to find a deal outside the MLS. So just realize that you need to budget for that. You also need to invest more time to find the deal. I mean, besides just the time that you're going to be doing the majority of the work for negotiating and filling out the contract and doing all the both sides of it, because the seller doesn't have an agent either. You're going to be doing all those roles. You're basically going to need to invest more time doing a lot of the pre-screening up front, and there's no sheet to get all the information from. It's not like the seller's going to hand you an MLS sheet. Basically, you need to go gather a lot of that and do your deal analysis. You'll need to do the work to negotiate, coordinate, contract to close, and acquire the deal. So that's basically a downside of doing stuff off the MLS. I still think it's worth doing in some cases off the MLS, but a lot of my clients, they're just buying properties on the MLS. They get better selection, and all the work is done for them. My fee is already included in the price itself, so there's nothing really extra to pay. Off the MLS, you can find some great deals, but you do need a lot more work and a lot more effort. All right, so types of properties you can find off market. Of course, you can do buy and hold, including Nomad. You could do subject to, you could do lease options. You'll find some fixer-uppers, some buy, fix up, and resell opportunities, and then some buy, fix up, refinance, and hold as well. And of course, when you're outside dealing directly with the seller, you can have that conversation where you're explaining to them that you're going to wholesale a property, that's not a good fit for you, but you actually have a buyer that would be willing to buy the property from you. So that's how you wholesale properties outside the MLS. We're going to have a class on that too. So where to look for outside the MLS deals? I'm going to do a whole class on this, several actually, but the short version of the dozen classes we'll do on this is Craigslist and other classified websites, Zillow and other property websites that allow for sale by owners to list on their property on their website for sale, and then your own marketing in order to get motivated sellers calling you. Those are the primary ways. It's look for people that are already advertising, but then also do marketing in order to find motivated sellers and have them contact you, which is primarily what I'm going to teach when we talk about finding deals, because I think that's the best way to do it. All right, so normally we'd say stick around for the end of the class, because there is a lot of information, resources, and talking and networking that's done after the class, so I'd encourage you to stick around. But that's pretty much the presentation for tonight. I've been James Orr. There's my contact information if you'd like to reach out and contact me. Love working with real estate investors and nomads, nomads especially. I really love working with nomads. Not that I don't like working with investors, but nomads is kind of a special place in my heart, so love working with them. But that's my presentation for tonight. Hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll hear from you soon. Bye-bye for now.